Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your hosts Fenurian.
And Volacel and no Aristeel again because he is once more missing without any prior notice. So he is probably sitting in his car somewhere,
Stuck
waiting
in traffic.
for everybody to get out of everybody else's way. But we're still here, so we fired it up anyway. And we are going to, as always, bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week, or what is left of it.
Yeah, what is left of it, yes. Oh dear.
But first of all, you can get involved with the show by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in Discord on our Discord server, which is most easily accessed by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on the show logo on any of our recent show posts.
Do it now. Alright, so on the stream today, once again I am playing Grim Dawn. I've talked a lot about Grim Dawn before. It's Titan Quest, just gothic.
How's it holding up?
Still very good. It does get a bit monotonous, but a lot of these types of games do. I believe this character I'm playing on now is my most progressed, but I've run into the same trap I have always done with Titan Quest, whereas I'll get up to about level 20, 30 or so, and then have a new idea for a new build, and start over again. And again, and again.
Yeah. I have a lot of approximately level 20 Diablo characters in Diablo 2.
Yeah. Such is the curse of the ARPG.
Yeah, it's not just builds though, it's the second area is the desert.
Yeah.
Nobody likes the desert part.
Nobody likes the desert in Diablo. Just so many memories of wandering in a vast, boring expanse of nothing.
Surrounded by hordes and hordes of lightning enchanted scarabs.
Yeah. Yep. Enjoy all that fun.
And if your computer is not good enough for all of the slowdown.
Oh, the lags. So, yeah, it kills your frame rate as well as your patience. Alright. Let me see. In terms of what I did this week, I was financially irresponsible.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity, I had to buy a bunch of other stuff from online, and while I was at it, out of curiosity, I bought a booster pack for Keyforge, which is that new card game everyone's been talking about.
Have they? I haven't heard anybody talking about it.
Penny Arcade did a couple of comics about it, actually. It's the one with the procedurally generated decks.
Right.
So, it's interesting. This card game has no deck building. You get your deck, and that's what you get. Weird name and all. Some of the names actually have come out to have been rather inappropriate too.
I don't understand. Like, there's an awful lot of basic information missing when people describe it. Like, I have no idea what they're actually talking about, and how can there be no deck building? That's like just saying, oh well, you've got to use a pre-constructed deck on the honors system. You haven't put anything better in.
Yeah, well,
I don't understand fundamentally.
I did a bit of poking around on this. So each deck comes with a predefined card list, and the deck itself actually comes with a list of the cards, as well as each card being marked with the name of the deck. So you can't just sneak something in there. It'll be blatantly obvious if you do.
Right.
So yeah, your deck is your deck, and that's what you get. The idea is you've got 7 different houses. You need to, at the start of a turn, declare which house you're going to use, and then you can just use whatever card you want from your deck that lines up with that house. So if you've got 4 cards for one house, you can use all of them in that turn if you so want. The idea is to accrue embers, and once you get 6 embers, you can forge a key, because Keyforge. Yeah.
How clever.
I know, right? And you get 3 of those and you win. So I haven't actually opened this deck yet, so let's see. Jeez, they make things seem fiddly to open, don't they? Why do they do that? Hang on, I'll open it from the other end. There we go. Okay. The deck I actually got is called B.I. Isprano and the Unpublished Villa. Right.
What?
Did I mention that these names are nonsense?
What?
Yeah. I've seen some... If you go onto the Reddit, actually, people share some of the best ones. Like, the guy who literally punched heaven is one of my favourite ones. Or the one that Penny Arcade used, the thing that abuses linguistics.
So, Tycho.
That's actually what they did. It was just a picture of Tycho. So let's see. What have I got in this deck? Here's the list. These cards actually mean absolutely nothing to me. So it's a Brobnar Untamed Lagos deck, which is orange, red, and silvery bluey. I don't know. Apparently, each of the houses are supposed to specialize in something. I have no idea what each of them is though. Let me see. Oh, okay. The card back is actually the identifier for your deck. So that's
right.
That makes it pretty obvious if you've swapped something out. Let me see.
This sounds more like a parody of a TCG than a TCG.
A little bit, doesn't it? Let me see. I've got a Snufflegator, which actually looks like Pookie Pookie.
Pookie Pookie? I'm fighting a Pookie Pookie.
Stop fighting Pookie Pookie. Pookie Pookie is the boss.
Yeah, well, he's a challenge for this. I've never actually done arena challenges before, so...
Yeah, let me see.
This is my very first one, and it's Pookie Pookie.
There seems to be all these mechanics in there, like flanking. I think I can understand each flank creature, which is the creature on each end of the of your lineup. I have no idea what skirmish is as a mechanic. From what I can tell, just flipping through this, I haven't actually played it yet, so I haven't had a chance to really get a handle on the rules. But you you use spells and abilities which will get you your embers. Ambers, and you just keep doing that, and you will ultimately either win or lose, whoever gets there first. I don't see what the point of combat is, though, because you can't.
You don't see what the point of combat is.
Well, you can't attack the other player directly. There's no life points. Let me see. So, yeah,
well, I mean...
there doesn't seem to be any real reason to destroy your opponent's monsters.
You don't want them doing what they want.
Well, there's no reason for them to attack your monsters either.
Well, they don't want you doing what you want.
Well, true, I suppose. So, now here we go. Here's a creature that seems to explain it a little bit. It's got capture, so I'm guessing that means... Hang on, where's the rule? I had the rules up here a moment ago. Capture as a mechanic, I think, means steal an ember from the other player. Let's see. Swap, taunt, unforge. Steal. Steal is to steal an ember. What is capture then? Doesn't say. Okay. So, yeah, it's a very confusing card game, I guess, unless you actually get the chance to sit down and play it. That is a tiny wasp / starfighter. That's kind of weird. They do have rather cool art on them, I'll give them that. So, yeah, I'm now confused.
Do you know anybody who plays this such that you can actually play it?
No, I don't. So I have a deck for a card game. I have absolutely no idea how it works, and I've got no one I can play against. So, yeah, that was my fiscal irresponsibility there. I don't know.
Pookie, kicking my butt.
If we figure it out, we can try it out. What have I done in terms of gamings? I did the Monster Hunter event. We'll come back to that later. I did a bit of a poke around at the Devil May Cry demo, but we'll come back to that if Ari turns up, because I honestly didn't get a good handle on it. I didn't play it for long enough to really get a good feel for it.
Probably
He did. He very much did. Also, the Devil Trigger song is very, very real. Every time you go into combat, it's bang bang pull my Devil Trigger. Except for the boss, who Nero snarks at because it's a Devil May Cry game.
We couldn't have an opportunity to snark.
It's Devil May Cry. You've got to snark. Snark is everything. At least Nero doesn't seem to be quite so face punchable anymore. So that's something.
Well, I mean, you gotta grow up sometime.
Yeah. Oh dear. So I'll leave that for Ari to talk about, since though he's the big Devil May Cry aficionado. The game I've been playing the most this week has been Spellforce 3, which is one I scooped on the sale. I've played the other two Spellforce games and quite enjoyed them, but they've always had issues. So the whole concept of Spellforce is it's a mashup between a Western-style RPG and a RTS. So you run around as your party, you do quests, you do dialogue and all that, and then every now and again it'll say, nope, hands off the party, time to go and be an RTS for a while. It's off you go and base build. Yeah. In previous games, the previous two, it seems to have focused more on one or the other. Usually more focused on the RTS aspect than the RPG. Which Spellforce 3 continues. The RTS is a bit more balanced. The RPG aspects are kind of just there. At least mechanically. In terms of actual writing, characters and things, though, it is quite good. The voice acting is fairly solid all the way through. And the characters actually have motivations that are kind of enjoyable and interesting to watch. If you like people who are social outcasts. Because that happens a lot.
I see.
Yeah. It's the old chestnut of every mage is evil, therefore burn the mages. That's the core of the plot. Also, there's a plague. Well, no, you're one of the mages who wants to avoid being burned.
I see.
Yes. Being burned is obviously quite bad.
Well, maybe it's an acquired taste.
I guess. So, not really too much to say about it. It's a competent game. Honestly, I don't think it's really worth the full asking price that they've put up there because, yeah, it's never been a big series and it's never really been worth $70. Let's face it. Much as I do enjoy it, I'm also disappointed that Spellforce 3 has the playable races in the RTS version down to 3. As opposed to, I think it was 4 initially out of the box, the last one, and 6 in the first. But, never fear, because here comes DLC.
Can always count on good old DLC.
Which I am mildly miffed at, because the first time you fire up the game, and thankfully it only does this once, but it will play you a trailer for the upcoming expansion. Which will get you 2 more playable races at least. Plus a whole bunch of more story. So yeah, I was kind of annoyed by it.
Exceptionally tacky.
It is. I'd be more annoyed by it if it did it every time, but thankfully once you've watched it once, it leaves you alone.
They probably didn't want to be, hoisted up in the town square.
I know, Capcom. Capcom. We're going to beat this horse again. How can it be they simultaneously make one of my most favourite games of all time and yet be so stingy? So yeah, if you're after a big, long, sprawling story and you don't mind a bit of random tangent into RTS Town for seemingly no reason occasionally, I suggest give it a go. Or if you don't want to spend all the money, buy one of the previous ones. Because the stories are just as good there. The second one is all about dragons, if that helps.
Not Dragoran.
Not dragon. I haven't seen any dragons in the third one. Just, mysteriously government-mandated cults. Seriously, I have no idea how this cult is actually has the position it has. It's actively murdering people in the streets, ritualistically, with some sort of, doom mask that either causes people's brains to explode or them to go slowly mad. And yet the Crown somehow approves of this because reasons. Yeah, that bit's never properly explained.
I see, or rather,
Yeah, I don't. So yeah, I think there's supposed to be a reason for it, but your character or your protagonist is never really privy to it. Just gotta love that government mandated or government approved murder cult, which you end up working for, because of course you do.
a lot about this sounds weird, man.
Yeah. But I'm gonna keep picking away at it because I'm interested in the characters and I want to see where the story ultimately goes. Maybe there's a good reason for the government actually approving of the murder cult, and not just the rather flimsy war excuse they give at the start.
That sort of implies that governments are better than murder cult. There's a lot of situations in fantasy stories where they're really not.
Yeah. Yeah, they are a church, but no, they're actually a cult. There's really no...
Is this just dictated by the amount of black robes and dimly lit rooms?
They're actually wearing white robes.
Quotient?
Lots of white robes in dimly lit rooms. Because there's a purity. So yeah. I think there was an intention maybe for them to be set up as a state church, or at least that's what the cult wanted initially. But no, everyone just sees them as a cult. It didn't work. They're a cult and they murder people.
But the government likes them.
Yeah. Incidentally, they keep talking about the Queen, who is supposedly all powerful and has some sort of future sight, I guess. You never see her though. So I have no idea what importance she is.
No, you don't see her. She sees you. That's the point.
Oh, geez, I'm being watched by her royal obliqueness.
In Soviet Russia.
The royals watch... No, that sounds like regular. The right way around. Oh, dear. I know this isn't really doing favours on this game, but honestly, you don't listen to us for positive anything.
There's no fun in that.
I know, right? I like the game, but that doesn't not stop me from making fun of its plot holes. The other complaint, of course, I have about it is the three playable races. The elves, the humans, and the orcs. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of difference between them other than basically aesthetics. Like, they all seem to get the same units, at least at the base tiers that I've gotten. Maybe once you get into magic units, they might start diverging a bit, but yeah. The only big difference is I found that elves get the option to turn one of their outposts into a gigantic Doom Fortress.
I want a Doom Fortress.
Even one that's all kind of tree-y and magic-y and sparkly.
Is it still a Doom Fortress?
If
it's definitely a Doom Fortress, you can forgive a lot of wrongs for Doom Fortress.
This is true. Doom Fortress does kind of overwrite a lot of sins, because just by being a Doom Fortress. The downside of said Doom Fortress is, of course, you can't harvest any resources in that sector while said Doom Fortress is there. So, yeah. But Doom Fortress. It's not Doom Fortress, it's like Altar of whatever their god is. Ellen. Their god is named Ellen.
I need an adult.
They just got a really unimaginatively named boss, god. I suppose the humans aren't much better. They've got Tiara.
For a moment, just for a split second, I expected you to say Bob.
No, they haven't quite got to Bob. Although if I ever do create a fantasy universe, I will have a Bob as a god. This is already a factor of a thing that I will probably do. Be it if I ever write a tabletop or if I write a novel of some description. I don't know. Expect the proliferation of Bobs. So yeah, Spellforce 3, great game, plot holes everywhere, and we're going to make fun of them. As for what else I did this week, yeah, mostly just chipping away at Monster Hunter. I didn't play much of Kingdom Hearts anymore because Monster Hunter did things. Unfortunately, they've put an event up. They've got one great event which is also incredibly irritating, and they got one event which, why bother? It's Lavasioth. Nobody wants to fight Lavasioth.
But the mountain of gems. And, well, there is one big reason why people are doing it. Yeah. And that's because when you kill him, you are guaranteed to get 2 warped gems, 2 warped decorations. Which are the highest rank. Well, they have the highest chance of manifesting as the highest rank decoration.
Yep.
Whereas it was worn ones for Jagras. But people are saying that Jagras was really easy, which is really disheartening to me because I had trouble with him, and that Lavasioth is significantly tougher. But there's just really no percentage in going after Lavasioth. Number 1, he's Lavasioth, so you don't need his parts for anything. Number 2, he's Lavasioth, so he's a pain in the butt. And number 3, he's Lavasioth, so you need Mind's Eye in order to fight him. And I don't have any good reason to go after him for those 3 reasons, because I don't have Mind's Eye.
I think they've actually put Great Lavasioth up because Lavasioth is the least fought monster.
Yeah, in fact, that's what the quest text says. That nobody wants to research him, so we are offering this quest.
That's because his fight is stupid and boring, and his armor is both ugly and useless.
Well, it's not useless. I wish it was useless.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the armor that he's wears, not the you wear.
Oh, yeah.
Because his armor is too good. That's the problem. That's why you need an incredibly rare, top-rank decoration in order to fight.
Yep. That, or you have to make a water weapon. It's the only monster you actually need a water weapon for. Well, Barroth.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. He's like Barroth, and that's the problem. Because if you use a fire weapon, you do crap all damage to him, but you melt his armor.
Yeah.
And if you use a water damage weapon, you harden his armor against you. But when he doesn't have armor, you do more damage. So he gets you coming and going. He's just a pain in the backside no matter what approach you take.
Yep.
Like you can get Barroth's armor off with brute force because he's a low rank monster. If he wasn't a low rank monster, he would be hated almost as much as Lavasioth.
Yeah, he would be. Lavasioth, why? It's such a boring monster. Maybe they did just throw him in there. Like we theoried about this earlier in the week because during development they could not get the Leviathan mesh working, so no Lugiacrus, Legiacrus, I don't know how it's pronounced, and no Agnactor, who is a far superior lava-dwelling monster.
The one that everybody wanted to see.
I mean, clacking and laser beams. What's not to love?
Well, being on the other end of it.
Well, yeah, okay. You don't want to be laser beamed to the face, because that hurts. He's such a cool monster, and Lavasioth just isn't.
How does it feel, Lavasioth? No, it's because he's just he's a reskin of the already most boring monster in the game, Duratotus.
Yeah.
So,
at least if they had the original monster for that that skeleton, Plesioth. Plesioth has meme quality.
I don't really feel like being hip checked from the over.
From the other side of the moon. Yeah.
Also, Plesioth is actually the reason we have tides. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, his ridiculous hip checks just displace that much water. Yeah, for those who don't know, Plesioth has the most idiotic hitbox, and they never fixed it. I think at this point it's just because of the meme.
Yeah, it gets to a point where you can't fix it because people would be sad if you did.
Yeah, so he can do a hip check attack at you, so he jumps sideways, and even if he's nowhere near you, he will still hit you with it. It's, one of those ascended bugs now, I think, at this point. There's not even a graphic to justify it anymore either, or at all. And there never was. It's just, he'll just swing and you're suddenly flying. Have fun with that. I wouldn't be surprised after we see Plesioth show up in the expansion.
Well, it wouldn't take much effort to implement. I'm sort of surprised that they haven't. Probably just lack of a home to put it in.
Yeah.
Because there really aren't any big bodies of water.
You got the beach at the forest and the jungle, and that's it. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some bigger water bodies come in the expansion and bring in a few of those creatures, especially if they manage to get the Leviathan mesh working. Like, there's videos out there of the betas and things of the Leviathan mesh kind of working, but then every now and again it does something really weird, and yeah, jitters or bugs out, and it's kind of strange. Anyway, let's tangent into your week, I guess, with the event that's actually worth talking about.
All right. So, I hit Monster Hunter. Well, I'll do a prelude of the more boring stuff.
Okay.
I hit Monster Hunter pretty hard. Since I had a bit of time, had Monday off, so I decided to, you know what, I'm gonna really make progress on this because I'm sort of ashamed at how little progress I actually made. So I decided, you know, these things, they look too hard, but I've got a bunch of decorations now. I'm going to build a set and I'm going to take on some of these challenges. And since, you know, I never do anything halfway, I decided that my objective was to beat Throne Taker with negative fire resist.
Was the negative fire resist actually intentional going in?
The reality is that I'm very fond of this armor set, and it has negative fire resist, and I'm not going to change it just for that. So Throne Taker, for those that don't know, is an incredibly obnoxious quest to get the temporal mantle, and it's incredibly obnoxious because it requires you to fight Tempered Nergigante, Tempered Teostra, and Tempered Lunastra simultaneously. In the standard 50-minute time limit.
Yeah, have fun with that.
It's not easy, I'm here to tell you. But, yeah, despite my misgivings, I actually managed it in the end. I got there. I think I had 6 minutes left on the clock when I finally managed to bring them down. But it was a rough one. I got there in the end. I beat it, and I'm quite happy because it was something that I had sort of put on the list as one of those quests that I'm just never going to successfully complete because I'm not hardcore enough to get good enough. But
you got good.
You know, my mechanical skills at the game are just as bad as ever. What I did instead was I devised a armor set that would allow me to be as bad as possible while still making the kill time limit. So my badness did not decrease. However, I did not cart very much.
Okay.
Because I had designed a set of armor so resilient that I could take as much of a beating as necessary and still accomplish what I needed to do.
Just tank all of the things.
Yeah, tank all of the things. And this in spite of the aforementioned negative fire resist. So I'm here to tell you, when I go up against normal stuff, they don't hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fighting a Tsutsuyaku right now for the sake of simply filling out the research journal, because you don't have much cause to fight Tsutsuyaku most of the time, so
he's a
I
pro.
haven't really filled in.
You don't want to fight.
Yeah, he helps you out. He helps you out more than he hurts you for the most part.
Yeah.
But you don't have much cause to fight him, so I haven't filled him in on the in the research journal. But when he does his leaping attack that kicks you in the face, it does. I've got a standard 23-inch monitor, and it does about 4 millimeters of my bar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just
I'm not using any
continue.
consumables either. But
the kick in the face that does absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think the only non-event quest I attempted was one where I had to do Tempered Rathalos and Tempered Azure Rathalos in the Ancient Forest. Q Yakety Sax. I ran out of time because I spent the entire time chasing them around.
Oh, that happens so much in Ancient Frost. Like, I love the map. I think that the map is a work of art as far as, interesting zone design goes. I think it's better than any of the other ones. But it just allows monster pathing bullcrap to get the better of you so easily.
Yup, it does.
Because when it comes to flying monsters, it's like, oh, well, you're going to take the long way around, but I am just going to fly to my next area.
Yeah, and Azura Rathalos is particularly bad since as he will sit in a place for approximately 10 seconds before deciding he's just going to up and go somewhere else.
Yeah, he's done. He's out. The Azura Rathalos out.
Yeah, bored now. Why do this, Azura Rathalos? Just hold still so we can get to you. Time limits would be a lot quicker if that was the case. You wouldn't spend half an hour of just running around.
Azura Rathalos is on the list of monsters that I still have a huge amount of trouble with. Like, that Elder Dragons I can sort of handle now because I'm used to being punched in the face by them.
Yeah.
I know what being punched in the face by them looks like and how it's supposed to go. But Azura Rathalos just seems to find a new way to annoy me every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Just
it lives to troll.
The poison and the burning and the poison and the burning and the poison and the burning. It's one of the monsters that I just disproportionately delight in chopping their tail. Like, yeah. So like, yeah, you like that? Anyway. So yeah, I did that. I got my Temporal Mantle, and then I realized, hey, hold on, the Temporal Mantle is the best defensive mantle in the game, but I don't have the Rocksteady Mantle, which was the, previous occupant of that throne. So I figured out what I needed to do, and it turned out that doing Throne Taker unlocked it because you need to kill 3 different tempered Elder Dragons in order to gain access to the quest. So I unlocked that quest, and I did that quest, and that quest was to kill Tempered Valhazak and Tempered Odogo. And so I have now got the Rocksteady Mantle as well, which is great. So I'm not like super behind on equipment. And I also did the quest to get the Assassin Hood. Can't remember what the quest was though. What quest was that?
Couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
But at any rate, it's a mantle that allows you to run super, super fast. Except
nice.
And it will immediately end if you attack a monster that hasn't seen you. But until then, you can run super, super fast. Quite useful defensively in certain fights, I presume.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no wonder that Tsutsiyaku got beaten up as a Gold Crown smallest.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
Why is this guy just running away from me all the time? He's not even fighting back.
Because you beat up a baby, you jerk.
Can't tell. He's the same photography skills as all the other ones. So
yeah,
but yeah. So I did that. So I'm pretty much sort of up to par in most respects. There are some things that I can't readily do. Like I can't complete my Lunastra weapon because the vouchers that you need to make them are a 1% drop from redoing that quest to kill Odogo and Tempered Valhazak.
Just
if I recall correctly.
And
you need 1 per Lunastra weapon.
So it's unpleasant.
Yeah, no, I don't want to.
Do not want.
Do not. But yeah, so I got up to par with that. I mauled the fattest Jagras many times. I got him pretty much comfortably on farm. Well, as comfortably as you can. I was extraordinarily disheartened to look into the details on this week's equivalent decoration farm because everybody was talking about how easy Great Jagras was and how he was just a pinata. Whereas that punk was just rolling over on me and insta-jibbing me. That's what they call easy? Ugh.
Yeah.
Elitists.
Is pinata shaped?
He's very fat. Very, very fat.
And full of candy.
I want to see an event where you fight the greatest Jagras and the fattest of that fat bouncy ball shark.
Zemetros.
Same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Do you think he'll be in the Iceborne expansion?
I hope so. I really like him because Zemetros is a shark frog balloon. He's so stupid. But he is a lot of fun to fight. Partly because he is just so freaking stupid. And his armor actually looks really cool. So that helps too. There's also worth mentioning there's a tiger stripe version, which lives in deserts.
That seems incredibly tech.
Yes, it is.
So, what was?
I'm
trying to recall what event it was that I got that I'm gonna call it the Assassin's Creed thing. So I remember it being pretty rough. I just don't remember what the quest was called.
But it's
thing.
Assassin's Creed. I suppose I really should go and do
Assassin's
it.
Creed, but it is also quite a good mental, and it's sort of something you want in your toolkit in case you need to do something which requires you to get from one place to another.
Like you're fighting Azure Rathalos.
Yeah, like if you know that you've got to kill Aziraphos in a certain amount of time, and he's on the forest map, and you know you've got to somehow run him down before the time, then you because it is quite useful in that respect.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I was caught up on that on all that stuff, and then the Witcher event dropped. This is the big crossover event for the week, or at least the first part of it.
Yep.
And it's basically Geralt and his notorious dislike of portals has gotten dumped into Asteria, and it turns out that he's not the only one who's moved over to the Monster Hunter world, and the ecosystem in the ancient forest seems to be pretty significantly disrupted, and he decides that he's going to take on the contract to investigate it.
Yep.
So in this scenario, you play as Geralt. You don't play as your character. Your character is canonically basically patrolling around the ancient forest, just barely out of sight of you at all times, killing all of the big monsters so that Geralt can do his investigation.
All I can really assume is the hunter. They're not actually fighting the monsters. I'm just expecting they're just running around with a bucket full of dung pods.
Yeah, so that's the reason why your character doesn't show up at the end, because they're smelling too bad and they're furiously trying to scrub it off.
Yes.
But, yeah, so you play as Geralt, which is an interesting experience. It's the production values are spectacular. It's just a joy to see how they've implemented all of the little design attributes of the Witcher games. You've got the same sort of conversation menus. You've got the habitual talking to himself narration that Geralt does whenever he's going around doing his thing.
Yeah,
and so he comments on everything.
Yeah, sadly it doesn't have any of his companions to call him out on it yet. Yeah.
So he's all.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially you play a little bit of The Witcher 3 in Monster Hunter World.
Right, so he comments on pretty much everything that you do and the things that you see and the environments that you walk through. The problem is, and the problem really starts to appear when you fight the boss. The boss in this scenario is Alessian,
yes,
which is a tree manipulating, forest creature manipulating magical monster that is basically causing all the chaos.
I honestly can't remember fighting this thing in The Witcher.
Oh, it's one of my former flatmates, a big Witcher fan. They're his favourite monster.
Okay.
So yeah. At any rate, the problem is, in The Witcher you can save. Monster Hunter, there is no pre-battle investigation, so it's not necessary to save you.
Mm-hmm.
every time something goes wrong and you cart 3 times against the Leshen, you have to do half an hour of running around the forest talking to people, setting up quest flag, triggering scenes and whatnot, all over again before you can take another shot.
Yup.
It is staggeringly annoying.
There are some shortcuts you can take, but not many.
Yeah, and well, you have to figure them out.
Yeah.
Which requires a certain amount of flailing around the forest. But the problem is that the Leshen it's not a Monster Hunter fight, and that's sort of might not be a problem for The Witcher, but it is a problem for Monster Hunter. Because Monster Hunter is not built to fight targets that are horizontally narrow, and is not built to fight small things. And this is what the entire Leshen fight is about, because the Leshen himself is not terribly dangerous in 99% of circumstances. The problem is, he spends all his time stalling you. He has a gargantuan health pool given his size, and every single thing that he does is a way of stopping you from interacting with him in any meaningful way.
Yep.
So it is a very frustrating and honestly very unfun fight, because pretty much what he will do is constantly teleport away from you, constantly keep you at range with birds that he flings at you. He has a shield of birds that he summons around himself constantly, and he constantly summons little jaggies in order to fight you.
Yeah.
And this was where I sort of blew my top, because I had several, not one, but several instances where the jaggies they got to me and they just took turns pelting me over and over again until I ran out of health. Like, I was not able to interact with the game in any way. I just got attacked over and over and over again.
Yeah.
This was another problem that I ended up solving by switching to a greatsword and getting the additional damage resilience. But one of the things that it's not something that you notice in terms of stats very often, but having a weapon like a greatsword, I don't know if it's attached to the defensive increase or whether it's just an attribute of the weapon itself, but you flinch less holding a greatsword compared to a ranged weapon. A lot less.
I think it is tied to the greatsword in particular.
At any rate, every time you get hit when using a bow, you flinch. Every time.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're in the situation where the first Jagras hits you and you're dead from a little baby Jagras because he just summons them. And if you don't kill them quickly enough, you'll summon more. And the amount that he summons seems to vary as well. I'm not really sure what controls that, because the first time he summons about 3, but he summons 5 at one point later on. But
yeah.
At any rate, it's a very annoying and frustrating fight. It was very, very difficult with the bow because of the amount of damage you take from jaggies. In the end, the only way that my best attempt with the bow, I got killed by getting stuck on terrain in a corner, and I couldn't work out how to get out of it. So I got beaten up. But my best attempts with that actually involved using flash pods to kill the Jagrases. Like, anytime the Jagrases appeared, flash pod, kill the Jagrases while they can't see me, and then go back to fighting the Leshen.
Yeah.
It was just the whole thing was just an unwanted interruption to actually fighting the boss.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that they could have made the Leshen a bit more interesting to fight and just dispensed with the humongous number of Jagrases.
Yep.
Fern tells me that if you break his head twice, he stops summoning Jagrases. I only got the second break in very close to the end of the fight, so I don't know if it's true.
I just managed to find that one out. I went in with the default Witcher weapon and just sword and boarded it, which was fun enough on its own right, but it took some getting used to.
I did that for the first attempt, but I just did not understand the weapon at all.
Yeah.
Like, my 2 weapons of choice are the bow and the greatsword, and the sword and board is neither.
Yeah.
In fact, it's about as far from both of them as humanly possible.
The sword and board is the classic all-rounder weapon.
I was not able to comprehend it. I tried it, and I timed out trying to do enough damage to kill the Leshen. I didn't actually die with the sword and board the way I did with the bow, because, sword and board, so you take less damage.
Yeah.
But I timed out trying to figure out how to use it to deal enough damage.
Your the square and triangle, square and triangle combo is your best friend on that score. That's where all your damage comes from.
Right, well, I didn't know that. I still don't really know that.
Yeah.
But I don't
But,
really like the sword and board much, so I probably won't be using Geralt's sword if I ever get around to making it.
Yeah, I probably won't either, but still.
But yeah, I can't say enough nice things about the production values of this crossover. Like, this is a picture perfect example of a crossover. But I can't say enough nasty things about how poorly the boss fight fits the Monster Hunter mechanic.
Positive. We're talking positive. Stop it.
There's absolutely no way that Monster Hunter mechanics were designed for fighting Jaggies and Leshen.
Yeah.
The Leshen is so scrawny and so cowardly that he's hard to fight. Like, I had many situations where he would fence himself off behind roots while my Igni skill was down, and he would just pelt me constantly. Like, there was no way to get in behind him because he had backed himself up against terrain and then put a wall around the front of him, and I just had to sit and watch and wait for it to come down. Like, the battles that are about the monster stalling you are not going to be fun. That's just the reality.
They're not fun, no. But it's definitely worth doing. They've got voice acting for the whole thing, including Geralt's original voice actor, which is really nice. They haven't lip synced to the English voice, but whatever.
Oh, that would lengthen the development time.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna bear them too much ill will on that.
It's pretty clear that it was made quickly, but they've done a very, very good job of putting it together, but you can see that there are a few things that weren't tested very thoroughly. Like, it was made very well, but it wasn't tested. Exhausted. Like, there are a few situations I saw where the Leshen just stood in a corner and did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He was snapped out of it. When I got close enough to start wailing on him, but he would just get locked in a corner and sort of shiver a little bit and not do anything.
Yeah, I've ran into that too, but generally when he was doing that, I had Jagresses to deal with.
Yeah, well, I saw him do it in a situation where there was nothing around to distract him because I'd lured the Jagresses off into a tunnel. But the main thing that I got out of the quest was a new fondness for Pookie. Pretty much.
Pookie is an absolute boss.
Pookie bro, he saved my tail.
Yeah. So there's 3 quests actually to do in this. The first is the main quest, so you track and then take out the Leshen. The second is the Gajalaka. Those annoying little tribal guys who throw rubbish at you. They've lost their chief because the Leshen's mind controlling him and he's gone off to try and find a cure and ultimately gets possessed. He's a really boring fight.
Oh my goodness, I got so sick of doing that.
Yeah, he's got a really cool tower of hats. Yeah, he doesn't have any special abilities, he just hits you with his stick.
Yeah, and if you're holding a ranged weapon and you get hit, he hits you really, really freaking hard.
He has no business hitting that hard, and it's very, very annoying.
He's midget. There's no way he's got that much wind up in that tiny body. My goodness.
He does have a lot of hats.
He does. He does have a tower of hats. Well, arguably hats. I'm fairly sure one of them is a teapot.
I'm pretty sure one is also a chandelier. So, yeah.
A
tower of hat analogues. So he's annoying.
So, yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Everything about the production values is excellent, but the mandatory Toki questy and the poor fit of the boss fight and the monster design revolving around stalling really didn't strike a very good chord with me. I'm probably more negative about it than I might be otherwise because of the amount of difficulties I had dying to what I thought were unfair circumstances where I would get pinned in the corner and then get killed by the first creature you see in the game, the Jagras. But yeah, it's as far as crossover events go, it's still the best crossover event I've ever seen in a video.
Oh yeah.
The only contender for it is the Behemoth, because the Behemoth fight is just such an exquisitely intense. Also a poor fit for Monster Hunter mechanics, but not unmanageable. Because, you know, he's a giant monster, which at least you've got the basic mechanical, physical abilities to fight, and you just happen to need to have support.
Yeah.
But, yeah, overall it was pretty good. And the follow-up event, which is starting next week, I believe, will involve Ciri. So presumably there's a second part to the story.
Mm-hmm.
and there will be the way Geralt's armor and his weapon are initially available now. The Ciri event will add the next version of that weapon. It looks
Yeah.
as well as a Ciri skin, because we can't get the parts to actually finish Geralt's weapon.
No,
yet,
you can't.
because we've got to fight another Leshen.
A bigger one.
Yes, the bigger, angry Leshen.
Yes.
So yeah.
You watch. I'm just waiting for the thing to summon, I don't know, Deviljho, because of course it's going to.
I don't think I think Deviljho might be more sedate if mind controlled by a Leshen.
It might actually. It might be safer to be around. But yeah, I managed to actually get the big overachievement for it this morning, which is beat the all of the quests in one run, and that took some doing because it meant taking advantage of every shortcut I could find. Most of the shortcuts apply to the Gajjalaka quest, by the way.
Wait, so I got the Wild Hunt title, isn't that it?
That's it.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't take any shortcuts, and I still did it with time to spare.
Yeah, I managed to do it with about.
As soon as I
20
switched to a great sword. As soon as I switched to a great, I did everything the long, but
yeah.
Me trying to do things with weapons that were unsuitable, unfamiliar, wasn't really doesn't. I'm starting to think that ranged weapons are more or less, unless you're already a master at the game, ranged weapons are pretty much, unless you're playing as part of it, because a stray hit will just hurt you so much more.
You are the squish. You are all of the squish. So squish. So yeah, great
so that
event.
was great. I enjoyed it. To a certain extent. I got really bored of it after the first couple of run throughs because I kept having to do the same things over and over again just start the fight.
Yeah.
But it was just nice to be able to sort of immerse yourself in the excellent job they've done of reproducing the Witcher content.
It gave kind of a new perspective of the Ancient Forest when you're going through it with Witcher 3 mechanics simulated.
And you're not being dive bombed by Betelgeuse every 5 seconds.
Exactly. And it makes the whole thing a lot more calm and relaxing. You actually get to soak the environment in for a moment.
Yeah, I think I actually know the environment better than I did before I did that quest because, I wasn't constantly alert for Deviljho leaping out of the trees.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very good crossover event. I want to see where they go with Ciri. Because Ciri can just jump between worlds at will. That's kind of her thing. Whereas Geralt's at the whims of portals, which hate him, and he hates them.
Yeah, apparently that's a running gag in The Witcher about how much he hates portal magic.
Yeah, it is. Although, I am kind of disappointed. I would have liked to see Geralt do the Gajjalaka dance. Which, yeah, unfortunately, if you do half the Gajjalaka quest and fail, that's supposedly what would happen. If you fail to get the chief, Geralt has to do the Gajjalaka dance. Sadly, that's not in the game.
They need to fix that.
They need to really fix that. There's enough footage in The Witcher 3 of Geralt doing severely silly and out-of-character things. And he does it with the complete stoicism that he usually exhibits.
My favourite is the quest to collect feathers. Harpy feathers.
Yep.
For that guy. And he never tells you what he wants them for.
Yep. That was
then you turn
Witcher 2, I believe.
Yeah, and you turn them in and you leave. And then you go back and you find out what he's...
Yeah. This is one of those just close the door and back away slowly moments for those who haven't seen it.
No, but the thing is that Geralt doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He just makes small talk with the guy.
Incredibly awkward small talk. I don't want to spoil it. It's something you've just got to go and do yourself if you haven't already done it. Yeah. The Blood and Wine expansion actually for Witcher 3, I believe, is the fairy tale one. Geralt ends up in the fairy tale world, and it's just full of moments like that. Like fairy tale happenings are going on, and here's Geralt frowning his way through the whole thing. It's ridiculous.
It is a little bit. I'm not saying it's bad because it's not bad. It's a great great expansion. It's a great area in that expansion. I think it's very fun, but it's also, like most fairy tales, pretty grim and macabre in places as well.
Yeah. Especially when you remember the source material for The Witcher. Oh boy, yeah, grim and macabre doesn't do it justice. So yeah, interested to see where this goes. All right. We should probably take a bit of a break.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Already, huh? Right, we'll take a break.
Okay. I probably should actually pause this game. Never mind. I'll just let my bird pew away at whatever it's pewing away at. Okay. So yeah, we shall take a break. We will be back in a few minutes. And we're back with more No Excuses.
on VGWorlds.com.
Yes. All right. So, where were we?
My week. Okay,
Yes.
so that was Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter's still progressing along nicely. I am still not Hunter rank 100. In fact, I'm nowhere near Hunter rank 100.
What is your Hunter rank, actually?
I haven't been playing much since last week. Look, that's on the guild.
It is on the guild card, yeah.
I am at Hunter rank 77.
Okay. I was actually very disappointed when I managed to finally kill that stupid Thunder Horse. I only got up to Hunter rank 55 or something at that point.
Yeah, there's pretty hefty apparent diminishing returns as far as you can tell.
Yeah, considering I had a
you...
good solid Teostra farm going in the lead up.
Yeah, but they're regular Teostras, weren't they?
They were regular Teostras.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Even regular tempered monsters tend to give you more than Elder Dragon. So it's just everything moves up by a rank, much like it does from when you move from normal to high rank.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you don't really get terribly much mileage out of those other.
Yeah. So I've got to really just sit down and start to farm because I really would rather to hit Hunter rank 100 before the expansion hits.
Honestly, I've never been very much good at farming in Monster Hunter. The fact that I have Hunter rank 77 is not reflective of farming. It's reflective of me, killing one monster a day over a long period of time, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the main reason is that my enjoyment of the game is something like about 35% when I'm playing by myself. I just much prefer to play with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But Fern keeps going and working with something.
I'd like to stop working now. Please, can I stop? I want to play Vidya.
And Ari, for some reason, just refuses to play unless he's got time to binge it until he's better than me before we play together. I don't know if he's got some sort of weird insecurity or something, but
I don't know what that's all about.
But yeah, I don't have anybody to play with, which really puts the kibosh on my enthusiasm. For hunting smaller game like tempered Odoggos and things that I'm familiar with and I know, I don't mind doing that by myself. But tempered Elder Dragons, just having the full attention of a tempered Elder Dragon on you is quite mentally draining compared to what it's like in a group where occasionally you'll get a breather and you can just wail on them. But, yeah. So I would play more if there were people around. Fern work never seems to manage to accomplish the legendary additional workers.
I know, right? It just doesn't happen.
I don't know how that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but I hope it gets resolved soon because I want to get a decent hunter rank before the expansion comes out.
I know, right? So frustrating.
Yeah. Anyway, so the other thing, of course, as usual, was FGO. So FGO has entered into Valentine's season, and so the Chocolate Ladies Commotion event is up again. Which is it's the waifu event.
It is totally the waifu event
for FGO. FGO's. Except the only people it is not about waifu for the people for whom husband. The scenario here is basically you've got a jillion different type of currency. It's like Skyforge or something.
Yeah.
There's baking chocolate and there's chocolate coins for each of the 7 core classes, plus a chocolate coin for all, plus chocolate molds for each of the core classes, plus but there's not one in that case. So there's a gajillion different types of collectibles. They all have different functions. Basically, what you are trying to do is farm up chocolate. The baking chocolate primarily is used to buy the usual loot that you see in event stores, and the chocolate coins can be traded at a 1-for-1 rate for baking. The reason why the chocolate coins are separate is because 150 coins of a particular class will allow you to purchase from the shop, or rather to trigger an event. And in the case of female servants, it's receiving Valentine's from them. In the case of male servants, you give them Valentine's chocolate and you receive a gift in return.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and there's one of these for every variant of every servant. So for the people who are really, really, really keen on filling out their Valentine's Day Craft Essence Pokedex, it's a lot of farming to do.
Pokedex is probably the best comparison. Pokedex full of waifus.
Yeah, so I've gotten a couple of them just for kicks. I got the one for each of the 2 variants of Kiyohime, and she is my unsolicited waifu for FGO. And I got the 2 for Martha, since she is the one who I use the most for the most things.
She would be your waifu if she wouldn't punch you in the face.
Yeah, she's a bit scary.
Yeah.
But, well, the reality there is that I'm a Catholic, and that would be just too weird.
It would be very, very weird, yes.
It would just be too weird. There's a big mental block there. It's not even intelligible to me to think of a saint as a waifu. It doesn't even make sense.
Yes.
Even something so far removed as FGO's interpretation of saints. That's just a bit too weird. But but yeah. So I've only gone through about 4 of those. There are a few others that I might pick up for fun, but my focus is primarily going to be clearing the shop, because there's a lot of newer currencies there, a lot of newer what do you call them? Ascension materials, ones that have to be farmed in Babylonia and Camelot and places like that, which are comparatively brutal to farm.
Yes.
So we'll be wanting to clear as many of those as possible. So one of the banners, the key banner, in fact, for this event is Mysterious Heroine X Altar. And I rolled 90 Saint Quartz and 39 tickets before I got her, but I did get her, and at that it's actually slightly above in terms of 6.
You got the littlest Sith Lord.
Yes, so I have the most adorable Sith Lord ever, and nowhere near enough EXP cards to get her to max level. I think I managed to get her as far as 81 or something, which is enough that she's usable.
Yeah.
For for content where it just isn't too hard in any way, because the reality is she's a quick servant. Which means for really hard fights, it's difficult to support her with the character. There's just nobody other than Waver can really give her meaningful support. She's a reasonable all-rounder as far as single target 5-star berserkers go. Like she's not like Ku and Heracles, a survival machine, and she's not like balls to the wall DPS engine either. But she's relatively all-round. Like, she generates good star drops. She's got reasonable utility when it comes to manipulating star distribution. She's got a little bit of a group buff. She's got a little bit of a self-heal, although self-heal on Berserkers is as close to useless as doesn't matter. Unfortunately, she has Instinct, the unwanted skill. There's a strengthening quest that will come out in a good long time. It's a while before it comes out, but that dramatically improves that skill and makes her a really strong servant in her own right. And she's also very well supported by Skadi when Skadi comes out, again in a long time. But yeah, she's a relatively solid servant, and not having a powerful single target damage oriented berserker has really been a fly in the ointment for me, because I just don't have a solution. For a long time I haven't had a really good solution to those situations where you just need to come strong out of the gate and bash the crap out of a boss or something like that. Because I didn't have a berserker to do that. Heracles is not leveled up, so I can't use him for that, although he's more survival oriented. My current solution, the one that I've been using a lot lately, is double Merlin Martha, which is a really beardy combo to use, and I don't really feel good about using it. But due to my lack of alternatives in the current farming situation for the Valentine's event, it's proven to be the most reliable approach. And the reason for this is that primarily the farming stages in the Valentine's event are cavalry classes or knight classes.
Mm-hmm.
Random. So you can't plan at all. You don't know what you're going to be fighting. And so my solution to this has pretty much been, there are two solutions to this that I can see. Number one is full stall, and number two is Merlin DPS Buster. So basically I'm putting in the two Merlins and Martha, because Martha doesn't take damage from anything ever. Like, she finishes on full health most and the two Merlins, even though you can get unlucky and have a whole bunch of riders appear on you, and occasionally Merlin dies, and actually I've never seen Martha in this event, like, ever. It just seemed to ever happen. But Merlin goes down all the time. But if you've got two of them, losing one isn't so bad. And when you've got two of them, and Noble Phantasms start rolling, you can do a pretty spectacular amount of damage with that. So, like I said, it's a beardy combo. It's not, it's sort of cringy to use. I don't like having to use it, since it's like the talentless meme team type of combo using two Merlins. But I don't have all day to stall them out, and I don't have powerful farming, universal farming tools. Like, I've got no AoE berserkers good to go except Kirihime, and it's not like I've grailed her up to max yet. Yeah. So I don't really have a situation like that. If I was Fern, it would be a case of, oh well, I'll just use Mama Raiko and blow them all away. Story. I don't have that
Mama Raiko, but yeah.
I don't have that particular strategy available to me, so I'm basically, each time I'm taking it slow and steady, and I have to deal with, oh great, situations like the one in front of me now, where I've got to deal with 242,000 hit point Marie Antoinette, a rider.
Oh geez, she's a troll.
Yeah, and she's just going to spam invulnerability every turn.
Yes, she will.
The worst one I had was I took like an eternity to take down one particular team, because it was the second wave. The servant in the second wave was Castaku, and he just kept using protection from arrows every turn. I was stuck on that wave for like 10 turns trying to kill him.
His Noble Phantasm is so stupid though.
And then it was followed up by Marie Antoinette in the next wave, who just kept making herself invincible.
She does.
That fight took forever.
She has like 3 turns of invulnerability by using Pretty Princess. That's, what is her ability name? Beautiful Princess or something. But yeah, I just call it Pretty Princess.
Yeah.
So yeah, she'll just stand there and just not die.
It's pretty rough. Pretty rough. But the farming is about to get harder, because it's another situation where the best farming stage is the one most recently unlocked, and there's another one unlocking short. The best comes to that one, then molds come into play, and molds are basically something that most people save until the best farming areas are open, and they are essentially chocolate molds. And since you're fighting Choco servants, they correspond to classes. So you use the mold, and that allows you to predict what servants are coming out. So you use the rider mold on the cavalry class farming stage, and it will turn all of the servants that appear into ones from the rider class. So then you can stack the deck with assassin and not get totally. So yeah.
Does it mean you're actually only going to get proper rider servants, or does it just change everyone's class to rider?
All of the enemies that appear will be rider. That doesn't mean they're all going to be servants. They will be rider. So that is what allows you to do. Now I'm here to tell you that even for somebody like me who's not very good at the game, even the second to hardest one, which is the one that I'm on at the moment, when you randomize classes, it actually requires you to play very carefully, because everything can go wrong at the drop of a hat. I had a situation where one of my Merlins crit out of existence a rider, and that was not comfortable. But it's sort of interesting to have these. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of interesting to have these curveballs thrown at you now. But much like during the tower, the prison tower quest thingamajigger, there is a challenge quest at the end, and it basically requires you to fight a whole pile of servants back to back like the previous one. I don't think that it's quite as difficult as the prison tower one in terms of just looking at it at a glance. It doesn't seem like it's going to be quite as hard. However, it pretty much there's a debuff that they can use which is poisoned by chocolate, and it seems like what that does is debuff HP recovery to all frontliners. But it seems like what the effect of that is liable to be is that that's designed specifically to inactivate Merlin team and inactivate stall team, which seems really harsh because Merlin teams aren't hit anywhere near as hard as stall teams are like that. Like, you can stall without healing, but healing, you need a little trickle of it in order to actually keep functioning. So most people will use Tamamo or use Jean or something like that in the stall team in order to make sure that the healing does trickle through, because you're only taking a little amount of damage in exchange for dealing out only a little amount of damage, but you need a bit of healing to keep you topped off.
Yep.
In the case of Merlin, you get a huge amount of damage output balanced by a huge amount of healing in, even though you take full damage all the time. The healing coming in is enormous. But because the damage out is enormous, you don't have to fight for that long. So, and since you can keep stacking the healing buffs on you, you can make up for any debuff eventually. So it seems like Merlin teams don't get hit quite as hard as conventional stall teams, and conventional stall teams have enough issues as it is without having to sabotage them just to try and take a dig at Merlin. So I'm not really sure about why they decided to take that particular. But looking at the particular the details of the event, it's going to be tough because it's a 2-wave fight, but the first wave is 9 servants, one after the other. So
wow,
yeah, you don't have those situations where you've eliminated 2 of them, so you only have to deal with 1 servant's incoming abilities. No, right till the end, you've got 3, and then the last wave is 5 servants, one after another. So
you just got to be careful you don't end up with a really nasty combination too. So take them out.
It's going to be one of it's going to be one of those situations where I'm going to either opt for full stall or for double Merlin Martha. Something. You can always count on Martha not to take damage, which is good. Yeah, so I don't know how hard I'm going to go on this event. I want to clear at least most of the stuff from the shop. I want all the rare and valuable stuff. I want all the laws, and I want all the EXP cards so I can get MHF to usability status. But I don't think that I'm going to try and fill out the Pokédex. Might be a bit much. Even though I don't have a huge amount of servants compared to some people, it's still a lot of farming.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for your week? That kind of went on a little while, isn't it?
I don't know that I did anything else particularly noteworthy.
All right. In that case, we should probably look at some news.
No.
Yes.
What news are we going to look at?
Let us see. There's a few things that happened this week. Let's not go to the big one straight away. Oh, right. Ari linked me that video about people singing about butts. Why? Why did he do that? All right.
I don't know, man.
Let me see. You've got Capcom being declared the best publisher of 2018 by Metacritic.
I mean, well, to be fair, this is not really a case of best anymore. It's least worst.
It is the least worst, yes. The bar is so very, very low.
Because the reality in which we are facing is that Capcom may have dropped the ball with MVC, whatever it's called.
Yep.
Can't even remember what the subtitle of this one is. The
Also,
new one,
Street
the
Fighter
hideous-
5.
Yeah, and they may have dropped the ball with basically all their fighting stuff, but Monster Hunter World is just going from strength to strength. And it's an endless well of prosperity and goodwill. So they need more of that.
Yeah, just keep doing that, and maybe release a new Phoenix Wright game.
Like one of the things that I thought was interesting was looking at the trophy thingy.
Mm.
So when you look at your trophies on PSN, it tells you how common the trophy. And one of the things that I got when I decided to take hunting monsters again, is I noticed that the stats are actually pretty good for people's persistence. Like, having killed 100 large monsters, almost half of the people who start get that far, which is pretty impressive. 50 tempered monsters, more than 1 in 5 people get to the point where they kill 50 tempered monsters. Like that's actually that sort of retention is pretty spectacular for a game, to be honest.
It is. So
because it takes a long time to kill 50 tempered monsters.
So for this ranking, it looks like Metacritic has based on their average Metascore, which is based on their releases from the year. So Monster Hunter World being, of course, Capcom's biggest one, as well as Okami HD being right up there as well, because it's Okami. Mm-hmm. The Black Marks, it does, of course, list their worst release. In the case of Capcom, that's Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2.
No, I forgot that happened.
Yeah, I think most people did. So, we've actually got the rankings of the top 5. Well, actually, we've got the top 30 here, but I'm only going to go up to the top 5. So, Sega is number 2. Their best overall release was Sonic Mania, of course, because that game is great. It's basically Sonic, and without people ruining it. Stop ruining Sonic.
You seem very, very taking it very personally that people are ruining Sonic.
Don't make me rant about Robotnik again.
What? You mean Eggman?
No, I do not. Shut up. So Sonic Mania being their best release. Their worst release was Shining Resonance Refrain.
Yeah, I played all the way through it.
Why?
It was not very good.
It was not very good.
Well, it was the voice acting was really good.
Yeah.
And the graphics were quite nice for a last-gen game that was just, polished up a little bit. And it's sort of its main weakness, other than the rather banal combat, which was banal rather than annoying, like Viserious. The main problem was that it just had no imagination whatsoever. Like, it was so plain, so very plain.
It is the vanilla of RPGs.
Yeah, and that was really the issue.
Yeah. All right, and of course, Sega's got their new IP, best new IP listed as 2 Point Hospital, which is its Theme Hospital, and it doesn't really vary from Theme Hospital, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. All right, number 3, EA. Why is EA even here? They shouldn't be even have a look in, but never mind. That's just because I hate EA. Their best overall release was FIFA 19 because, of course it was. Their worst was Fair. Nobody played that game.
What? You cut out. I have no idea what you said.
Well, the game is Fair.
You cut out again when you said the name of it.
Really? Oh no!
Every time you say the name, it breaks up, and I can't hear what you're saying.
The game is so bad it actually breaks reality. Excellent. Oh dear. Let's see. Number 4 was, of course, Nintendo. Best game was Smash, because no surprise there whatsoever. Worst, Kirby Battle Royale, which I'm pretty sure was free.
I don't have any comment to make on that in that regard.
And finally, the 5th is Ubisoft. Best release is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Worst release was Far Cry 5 Hours of Darkness, because apparently DLC gets its own listing. So yeah, anyway, this is all coming from Metacritic, of course, so, take that with the bucket of salt it deserves. Gotta love it, I suppose. A lot of these rankings and reviews and things, they're pretty much completely arbitrary at this point. So, yeah. The numbers don't mean anything. Listen to people who you trust and get their opinion on a game instead before you play it. And also insert rant about terrible shill media here. Alright, next bit of
Can't
news.
even have too many of those.
We may have actually reached too many of those.
Well, you can't let people forget.
No.
It would be bad.
That would be bad.
Honestly, some of the stuff that I've been seeing going around about Apex, that new game. Yeah. Like, wow. Just wow. The only saving grace for the media on that one is that the developer is just as bad.
Well, yeah, I think the developer's just cashing in at this point on the badness.
Yeah, that's the most cynical thing I've seen in a long time. Like, I thought that we were starting to peak out on that one, but no.
Yeah,
turns out we're not.
We have reached a new level of complete cynicism. So we should probably actually quickly touch on this while we're at it. Apex Legends released. The Battle Royale set in the Titanfall universe. Meh.
Which is that's not evidently set in the Titanfall universe. You only know that it's set in the Titanfall universe because they tell you.
Because there's no plot whatsoever.
No plot. It's just designed to be an entry in the genre, the Battle Royale genre. Meanwhile, they are absolutely stealing the lunch of their competitors. Other than the established champion, Fortnite, they have managed to stick their oar and have basically sabotaged the attempts of everybody else to get in on that market while they were at it.
Because looking like from what I can tell, they've mixed hero shooter with Battle Royale. So
and
yeah,
and
it works.
A 3-man squad hero shooter battle royale. So it's being a bunch of stuff all at once.
Yeah.
And like that appears to be working out pretty darn well for them.
Yep.
But so they've got a huge number of players. Within 72 hours, they'd already reached the millions of players. Like 10 million people had played it, and they were on something like 700,000 concurrents, which is pretty spectacular uptake by the third day. Even though it is new and there's the hype factor and whatnot, you got to keep in mind they did no marketing.
Yeah.
None. The marketing was that they did no marketing. Which, I mean, that works sometimes. But they have found an incredibly effective and incredibly cynical way to subvert the woke games media to their advantage.
Yes, they have. Do we really want to go into this?
So basically, the long and short of it is that they assigned a whole bunch of the woke alphabet soup trait to their characters. You know, the characters that have no story or dialogue of any kind.
No personality.
They're just classes, basically. They're blank classes. It has less story than Overwatch, which is pretty impressive. And so, naturally, you make most of the casts oppressed in some way.
Yep. Incidentally,
you just.
The two that are not oppressed are behind a paywall.
Well, yeah, because
Because of course
we can't. We can't have people, playing somebody who doesn't tick a whole bunch of boxes that the player can't relate.
Yeah.
That said, this won't affect them in the slightest, and this is the real cynical part of it, is that nobody will give a toss because there's no story. Nobody will even notice. The only people that this is necessary for this to notice this is the woke games media. This exists in order for them to be passive. It costs them nothing to do other than their integrity.
Well, yeah, they didn't. It's EA, so they didn't have that.
Such as it is. It costs them nothing but their integrity to just add attributes to these characters that are not expressed in any way, shape, or form, other than you can tell somebody that it's the case and it will be technically true.
Mm-hmm.
So they've arbitrarily made a bunch of characters like gay or transgender or whatever other weird social justice attribute you want to slap on somebody.
One's a robot and yet still has one of these labels.
Yeah, but he's a robot, therefore he's agender. So, oh wow, agender, like, listen,
no, it's a robot.
That's not agender is not a real thing. I'm sorry, just don't even try. But yeah, this is at once sort of a work of genius and a work of devilry.
If you wanted to get the woke games media to really upsell your game, this is how you do it.
Yeah, so you've got like most of the cast has some weird thing attached to it.
Yeah, the thing is though,
if you want to play somebody normal, then you have to pay them money.
Problem is though, the people who are actually playing the game do not give a toss.
They probably won't even know.
They
won't even be interested in knowing.
No. It makes absolutely no difference to the gameplay. People are just going to play whichever character they like the feel of the best.
Yeah, so, I like the ability that this character has. I'm going to play him. I don't even know what he looks like because it's a first-person game.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well done for making a successful game, but really, have some integrity. Please.
Well done for being an embarrassment of the games. And it's just, it makes me cringe because it's such a mixture of genius and nefariousness.
It is. It's just, I applaud you at the same time I want to smack you upside the back of the head.
There's not enough smacking in the world for this. My goodness.
Yeah.
Appalling.
You, EA, are magnificent bastards.
Yep.
This is a slight upgrade from the usual just plain bastards. Be honoured.
They don't deserve it. Anyway, that's a thing. It's super popular. It's stealing. What was it? Was it Call of Duty? Was the next one that was trying to jam one in there, or was it Battlefield?
Yeah, everyone seems to be trying to jam it in there now.
Yeah, everybody's trying to add one. I can't remember who hadn't added theirs yet and was trying to talk in it.
There's one jammed into Black Desert Online as of a few weeks ago. The player base has already forgotten about it.
Well, yeah, because the PvP is completely toxic in that game.
It's completely pointless.
It exists in exactly one form, and that's the one-hit kill from somebody at a much higher level than.
Yep. Yeah, if you see a berserker coming, just fall over and give up. That's it.
The power curve in that game takes so staggeringly long to traverse that it's not even a live option to try and fight back if somebody decides to attack you, because the only reason they're attacking you is that they know that they've already. Yeah. That's just how that game works. Sad fact.
Yep. So let me see. What else have we got that's completely pointless? Other bits of news. We've got Dead or Alive 3, Extreme 3. I suppose while we're on the topic of the woke media, we should probably talk about this one.
Right. Well, I don't even know where the story's at on this one. Ari-Link. And the reality is I've seen Dead or Alive go up and down so many times on what they were going to do that I don't even know what the state of play is anymore.
From what I can gather from the just poking around on this is Koei Tecmo is not going to release this game in the West. There's going to be no Western release for it. Probably because they just don't want to deal with all the nonsense that comes with it.
That's bad. It's bad in a sense.
But yeah, there is good news.
Number one, Number one, I don't blame them, and number two, this is something that other people have done before and has worked for them in the past.
Yeah.
And number three, everybody who's really, really, really keen on Dead or Alive already knows about this workaround. And
Yep.
And that's basically they aren't doing a Western release. They're doing an Asian release with English language support.
Yeah. So if you want the game, just remember the Wii U is not region locked. Not the Wii U. Sorry, the Switch. Not region locked. Go buy it that way.
Yeah. And this is the way it's going to have to go. I don't know what it is behind the scenes that has ushered in this new era of runaway censorship. But something has. I don't really understand what's going on here. Why this is broken out everywhere all at once. But hey,
yeah,
it's rather confusing. Normally, there's some sort of triggering event for this sort of stuff, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. What's so special about now that this is happening?
I don't know. The world just seems to have gone completely mad. So yeah, if you want your fix of jiggle physics, import it. Import it, switch it to English mode, and you're good. You can enjoy all the jiggling you like.
And this was the exact same thing that happened last time they did their beach volleyball thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember what it's called. They didn't release it in the West because the West reacted with shrieking.
Yep. All of the
Yeah, since shrieking was the order of the day, they just released an Asian one with English language support, and everything was.
Yep, everyone was happy.
Yep.
Well, certain people weren't happy, but they don't count.
Yeah, they're never happy. We don't need those people.
There is no pleasing.
But it's I still vacillate on how I feel about it because I'm trying to settle in the correct spot because I have a very puritanical personal ethic, but I think that as far as this is concerned, this should be left to me to maintain my puritanical personal.
If you don't,
because I don't have the authority to make anybody else live the way I do. So I don't see why these people do.
Yeah, no one person should be able to dictate what other people do. And I know that's a whole massive political discussion for another time, but just cut it out of the censorship. Knock it off. Let's make our own decisions.
Yeah,
hear that, Australian government?
I don't like being protected. Protected from freedom of choice. That's not something that sounds very. Well, it's not about being protected from boobs. It's about being protected from choice. Because what they're afraid of is not that people might see boobs. It's that people might make choices they don't like. Because if they wanted to protect, think of the children, then they would be looking at restricting the way sales take place.
Mm-hmm.
They would be introducing much more stringent conditions for retailers and so on and so forth. Like, they would want to really, really clamp down on that. They would be attaching taxes left, right, and centre to video games. Like if they really wanted to protect people, they have lots of incentives to do that because they would be able to squeeze so much tax money out.
Oh yeah.
This is about thought control. They want you to think and act in a certain way. They want you to, in the case of the clamp down on boobies that we're seeing, like the objective here is to make people scared to look at boobies. That's what they want. They want a world in which looking at women is dangerous.
Yeah, we've pretty much already achieved that.
Well, yeah, and it's by their efforts, really. The same way of thinking is what's driving towards, and that's the thing that makes this so staggeringly odious. Because if it was about saving the children, because I am personally, as a matter of my personal take on things, there are certain things that children should not be exposed to willy-nilly, and under the careful education of their parents only should they be exposed to particular truths of reality at the appropriate time. But there's these things called parents.
Yes.
It's their job. That's the whole point. That's why parents exist as a concept, is to raise the children. Not for the government to raise the children.
Nope.
Nobody wants the government in charge of their children if they care about their children. That's really bad.
That is unbelievably bad.
So, anyway, what else have we got?
Booby's bad, apparently. Alright, we do have one big one, which is going to get ranty. Let me see. Is there anything else before we get stuck into that? Do you want to talk about the Steam Awards? More arbitrary labels?
We can run through them, like, just for lulls, because, let's be real, this entire system is completely pointless. Nobody cares. Nobody believes that they are significant of anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
These all win on name recognition.
Yeah.
So, starting at the bottom of the list, because it's more fun.
It's all the bottom.
Most fun with a machine is Rocket League.
What did that actually mean again?
That was
mechanics.
No, it wasn't about mechanics. It was games that have machines in.
Oh yes.
So this is one of those ones where the winner is always going to be ambiguous because people don't necessarily understand the category.
Mm-hmm.
But Rocket League won it. From what I've heard, Rocket League's a fun enough game. It's very machine centric.
It's fun. It's silly, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, people who voted for Nier probably did so because the waifu is a robot.
She's
a very nice looking robot. But yeah, it's probably not what came to mind for a lot of people. But yeah, there's a lot of options there, but the category is so weird that most people probably didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Best alternate history. Won by Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Alternate is right. There is nothing coherent with regular history in Assassin's Creed.
Regular history does not really get a look in.
Neither
does assassinating, for that matter.
The competitors for Assassin's Creed Odyssey were Wolfenstein 2, the new communist propaganda. Hearts of Iron 4, one of the most complicated games ever conceived. Civilization 6, not really an alternate history since you could really make it play out the way it's supposed to. And
except for Gandhi and the nukes.
Fallout 4, which would only be on this list out of name recognition since nobody actually liked it.
While technically an alternate history, you don't play the alternate history, you play an alternate future. So disqualified for being wrong.
Right, next one. Better with friends, so games that have to be played with multiple people. Payday 2, Dead by Daylight, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Overcooked 2 were the honourable mentions. The winner was Rainbow Six Siege, which I think is probably about right given the other contenders because they managed to, while I'm not involved with it in any way at all, from what I hear from the outside, they've built a really strong community.
Mm-hmm.
Multiplayer community. It's not like a massive, expensive, highly toxified one like some of the battle royales, but yeah, all of the battle royale. But it's a group of enthusiasts.
Yes.
So you've still got your nasty elements in there, like you do in every community, but it's not built out of nasty elements the way battle royale community.
So okay, it's the best kind of community.
Best environment. Runners up were Dark Souls 3, Far Cry 5, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Subnautica. And the winner was Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
It seems like an obvious one. Dark Souls 3 is ancient. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is frankly banal. Far Cry 5 also banal. Subnautica, I haven't played it.
Subnautica is excellent. And if they were restricting it to just games released in the last 12 months, then I would have given it to Subnautica. But I mean, Witcher 3.
Yeah, Witcher 3, all of its environments are gorgeous without exception.
Yep.
So, yeah. Best developer, runners-up, Clive, Bandai Namco, Paradox, Capcom, Squeenix, Digital Extremes, Rockstar, Bethesda, Ubisoft, CD Projekt Red.
Why are half of those developers even there?
I expected Rockstar to win. I think CD Projekt Red has done pretty well at it. So I think I don't begrudge them their win. I like Bandai Namco games better, but that's not enough reason. I like what Capcom's done with Monster Hunter, but everything else they've done has offset that.
It's come out of the Supervillain's Handbook is what it has.
The fact that Bethesda is on this list astonishes me, but I guess a lot of the stuff that they did came a bit to be taken into account.
They've still got things like Doom under their banner, which are really good games, but Anything basically built on the Creation Engine, just stop.
You say that, but they put Doom Immortal on their own launch, so you can't buy it on Steam.
Oh yeah, it's on their own stupid launcher.
So Doom should only remind people that Bethesda are evil. So
if not outright evil, just grossly incompetent.
CD Projekt Red have just been a class act in most, not every respect. They have their own foibles too, but they, in most respects, have produced really top quality content, and their DLCs follow more closely to the classic expansion pack system, which everybody likes better than the modern DLC system.
They're also the only company that's really having viable competition with Steam. Actual competition, not just locking people out of the yard and telling them to come and pay entrance. With good old games.
Right, next category, Labour of Love. Runners up were Stardew Valley, Dota 2, Path of Exile, No Man's Sky. Winner was Grand Theft Auto 5. Which I can only assume that was just the Grand Theft Auto community voting it in because of name recognition and because they like the game.
Well, yeah, because Grand Theft Auto 5 has basically changed.
As far as I am aware, the only thing that the Grand Theft Auto team do these days is nickel and dime people with DLC. Like, that's their entire business.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't understand why that would be qualified as a label. But No Man's Sky, I also don't really like to think of that as a labor of love, because to me, from where I stand, it looks more like a pay what you owe.
Actually fulfill your damn promises.
It's not about labor of love. It's about they owe their player base. And if they ever want anybody to buy anything of theirs ever again, they need to deliver. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Dota 2, I mean, it's a Steam game. It's a Valve game. I don't care. Path of Exile, New Zealand represent. Stardew Valley, I didn't even realise they were adding to that.
Yeah, they added a multiplayer
big enough
mode.
Community. I didn't realise they had a big enough community to actually get it on this list. But
it's got a huge community.
Props to them.
Yeah.
I don't follow Animal Crossing, so. Next category, VR Game of the Year. Runners-up were Superhot, Fallout 4, Beat Saber, VR Chat, and Elder Scrolls 5. I am not surprised Elder Scrolls won, but it is incredibly undeserved because apparently it's crap.
Yeah.
VR Skyrim is apparently crap from what I've heard. It just doesn't.
Doesn't that
Superhot, people were raving it. Gone.
Yeah, doesn't that apply to like 90% of VR games though?
Anything that has been made over into a VR game from not being a VR game has never been in.
Yeah.
The only people that like it are the people who like the original so much that anything based on that would be. Same applies to Fallout 4, although I've heard that Fallout 4's one is even worse than Skyrim's. Superhot had a real big influence on the commentariat. They thought it was great. Beat Saber is the one that people actually like from what I've seen.
It's
as far
funny,
as VR games go, Beat
it is
Saber
actually
is
hilarious
really
to watch somebody else play Beat Saber. Not on the screen,
yeah,
just stand back and watch them.
When you can't see what they're doing on their screen, they're hilarious. Cause
they're just standing around and flailing their arms. It's great.
Bees! Bees! I'm being attacked by a swarm of bees!
It's bees!
I think VR Chat got on here, and that's kind of strange because it's not really a game, but it did give the world Ugandan Knuckles.
Yeah, I'm still not so sure I want to forgive it for that.
I've seen lots of comic and meme-worthy stuff come out of VR Chat.
I have seen a lot of screenshots of VR Chat where it's just a room full of Ugandan Knuckles. And nothing else.
Alright.
Anyway, Game of the Year.
Moving on. Game of the Year should have been Monster Hunter is a runner. Kingdom Come Deliverance came out. Hitman 2 is up there. Hitman 2 is up there. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is up there. Now, Hitman 2, isn't that ancient?
Yep.
Like, really, 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 really old? Am I thinking of the wrong Hitman? What is this?
I don't know. I've lost track. They did that whole naming reset thing.
Did they? Oh, they reset, did they?
Yes.
They reset the... Oh, I see.
That
That's
whole thing that
really
seems to be going on now. Yeah. So, reboot.
Okay, so yeah, it's building on the 2016 one. It's not the original Hitman 2. It's new Hitman 2. Maybe the original one's Hitman 2 had a subtitle or something. I don't know. But anyway,
I don't know.
Hitman 2 games that were always popular, but not too popular. So I'm not really surprised it got on the list, but didn't win. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is just a bad game. It's on there for name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad in it's at least a little bit bad in every respect on the diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, from what I've heard, it's a bit of a niche title, but it's very, very good at what it does.
Yep.
And PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is the winner of Game of the Year, and it's crap, and nobody likes it. That's
garbage.
the thing. PUBG is dying, like it's withering horribly and incredibly fast because, well, it's worse at everything that Fortnite does.
Yeah,
it's
not
just
to
a
mention
bit worse at everything.
Yeah, not to mention everything that Bluehole does to try and improve the game. It ultimately makes it worse.
Well, it's because they have this massive focus on
China
esports. No, I'm talking about PUBG specifically. They tried to make it into an esport before they firmed up the solidity of their actual game.
Yeah. Before the thing was actually ready for release, even.
Like, they had a chance to be what Fortnite is now, but they got distracted by esports. Instead of continuing to run forward on that particular and stay ahead of the curve, they, just decided to take a nap at the side of the road while the tortoise passed. Like, there's not any good reason why they failed as hard as they did, other than their own stupidity. So,
yeah,
I don't know why their Game of the Year is totally beyond.
Yeah. So that's that train wreck. It's the completely arbitrary awards. I'm not sure how they actually do it. I think it's voted for by the communities, but yeah, I
have no doubt that if the wrong person won, they would make sure that
it's Yuri on Ice.
What?
Oh, you forgot that? Yuri on Ice doing the clean sweep at the last Anime Awards a couple of years back. Despite nobody wanting it.
Well, it was super, super popular, but only with Yaoi fangirls.
Yeah.
Who are realistically in the West, they're about 2% of the anime watching population.
Mm-hmm. So it's not that it was a bad anime, it's just it didn't deserve to win in, well, pretty much any of the categories it turned up in.
Yeah. If what you want is sort of like very soft yaoi titillation, then it's the ideal show, I guess. But that's all it is. It has zero mass appeal. You have to be a yaoi fangirl to like it. It's got good production value, so I guess if the only thing you care about is production values, then that's fine. But
yes, yeah.
But yeah, most of these awards things are rigged nowadays. Nobody thinks differently.
Yep. So yeah, it's completely arbitrary and it means nothing.
The only deviation from that way of thinking is that the people that hold these awards seem to think that there are people still taken in. I'm honestly not sure that there really are, because the reach of things like the Video Games Awards is not very far. They're not going to hit the mass market person who never reads any gaming media, because games are for gaming, not for yakking about like we do.
Mm-hmm.
So most people won't hear about these awards, and the people that do hear about them, most of them are quite sad.
Yeah. Like, you got that big spectacle Jeff Keighley puts on at the end of the year. Nobody really watches that for the awards. They watch it for the trailers.
Or the cringe, if you're that way inclined.
Or the cringe, yeah. There's plenty of that.
Yeah, there's higher cringe per capita than anywhere else up until very recently, when Ninja started getting gigs.
Yeah, you say that, but this year
have you seen the
what's his
name? Of those? My goodness.
Yeah, but what's its name? That furry guy. I've kind of tried to him.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that everybody's trying to forget about. Ari will never let us forget about Sonic Fox, but most people want to forget that it ever happened.
Yeah, purge it.
I'm talking about sort of ongoing a cringe phenomenon. I think Ninja really takes the cake.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen the Times Square footage where he's trying to get everybody in the crowd to dance, and everybody's just looking at him as he sort of does the Mr. Bean dance up in his podium?
I haven't watched it, but I'm cringing just thinking about it.
Like, I don't know how you. Why does everybody think Ninja is a thing? He's just someone that kids watch, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a streamer. He's a streamer that's mainly watched by kids, people who don't play video games because watching other people play them is easy. I don't know, but yeah, scrawny dude with pink hair. Come on. He's cringe personified before he opens his mouth, and when he opens his mouth, it digs a hole in space time.
Just out of pure cringe.
Man, he must be so wealthy it's big as belief.
Must be. Anyway, the big article this week is everybody at Blizzard getting sacked. Okay, it's not everybody, but yeah. It ain't good.
So this rumor's been boiling for a while, but it has finally surfaced and confirmed, and man, it sounds a lot like it was confirmed via the media and not told to the employees. That's what some of the things I've heard being said sound like. But yeah, that's about the worst way to do it. But at any rate, basically this has been rumored for a long time, but it's been confirmed by Blizzard now that they are going to engage in a process of mass layoffs beginning Tuesday. Like just hundreds of staff are going to get laid. And I'm not surprised. They lost Bungie. Everything that they had tried to make turn to gold, well, it was gold, but it was actually custard. Yeah, so it's just been disaster after disaster for Blizzard Activision in the last 6 months. They've got a quarterly report to turn in very soon, if I recall correctly. I don't remember much about how the business year works, but I think it's something like that. I think that they are realizing that this is the era of rapid market contraction. We're in a bubble burst situation. We are not in a runaway expansion situation that a lot of investors thought we were. All that talk about video games being a recession-proof commodity, that sort of talk is how you get a bubble. And so, when we're entering into this period of market contraction, we're going to end up seeing. And I think that, honestly, the budget for a lot of these titles is humongously inflated. People's talked for a long time about how much more expensive it was getting to make games, but I don't think that that's true. I think that we have, relative to conventional games, I think that at 4K, you have hit the limit. There is nothing above 4K. In terms of, like, if we look at texture resolution affects things like storage, it affects things like optimization, it affects a lot of different things, but it's sort of like the uptake of the highest resolution is a sort of an overall barometer for where the market is sitting in terms of the minimum tech level you need to accommodate. And I think that 4K is basically the cap. I can't imagine why you would go any higher than that for any reason other than VR. So I think we're at the limit there, and I think that budgets have massively outstripped that relative to what is necessary. Because honestly, 4K is not necessary for a lot of things, and even if you want it, you should really be working on optimizing that and not reaching beyond pouring huge amounts of R&D on that. So we have games that are real class acts like Hollow Knight that were made on a shoestring budget and continue to reward their player bases indefinitely. And if we look down the list of those, just as taking it as an arbitrary selection rather than a ranking, if we look down the list of the Steam Awards, like what are the games that the people who are using Steam are at least thinking of? If we look at them, what on that list is on the bleeding edge? What? Anything?
Nope.
No, not a damn thing. Nothing on there is on the bleeding edge. Nothing there is what people are thinking about. Like it's completely void of what you would expect to see. It's really, really strange in a lot of ways. So, yeah, the scenario at play is just we have reached the long predicted end of our market, which lasted roughly the span of our lifetime as show hosts.
Yep.
Around the time we were born, gaming started to expand. Like this is basically in the era of Duke Nukem 1, if anybody remembers it.
I remember
That's
Duke Nukem
Commander
1.
Keen 1, Duke Nukem 1, that particular generation of games. The shareware movement, where Apogee basically had all the money in the world as far as video games went, on PC particularly. I'm not talking about consoles, since I've got very little experience with early consoles. And then you've got a steady increase, which turned into a boom over time. And that particular period followed on the end of the last big crash.
Yes.
So we're just at the point. 30 years have passed roughly, and it's time for the market to contract, because you can't grow forever. No business grows forever without contracting. It just doesn't happen, and we are there now. The budgets have blown way out of proportion with the product at the end, and nobody is meeting earnings at all. No game hits the earnings targets anymore. That's how you know that the market is hitting the point where it's going to bubble. There's no more bubble. Bubble is bursting. So people who set modest goals and seek to build game communities are the ones that are successful. That's why you've got Rainbow Six Siege as a standout, because they built a strong community. Monster Hunter World is a standout because they built a strong community. None of these had, $500 million, $1 billion earnings target. They sought to build a base of loyalists to an IP.
Yes.
And they did that. The ones which are milking extant franchises and gambling on juggernauts, all of those are dying on the vine. PUBG's dying on the vine. The only reason that it won Game of the Year is because, Battle Royale's the big thing right now, and I can't pick Fortnite because Fortnite's not on Steam. Is Fortnite on Steam?
No, it's not on Steam.
Can't pick Fortnite, and I did play PUBG back when it was popular, even though I play Fortnite now, so I'll play a PUBG. But, these are all gambles. They gamble, and some people win and some people lose, and that's how you're getting your big success stories now. You're just getting a dozen withering on the vine for one success, like back during the MMO boom. And the MMO boom was followed by an MMO bust. How many MMOs are coming out now? There's like Camelot Unchained and Crowfall. And that's it.
There's half a dozen, but they're all very low profile.
Well, that's because most of them are Korean import.
Yeah.
By number, most of them are Korean import. That doesn't really count because nobody plays them. At least not for very long. The ones like Terra that managed to carve out a niche are rare, and the only reason Terra did carve out a niche is because of Ellen Swimsuit, and I need an adult. So yeah. Yeah. This layoff is a symptom. And so we've seen a humongous drop in share prices from ActiBliz over the course of the past few weeks. There was another drop from ActiBliz when they announced the layoffs. It will probably be recovered. The most recent drop will probably be recovered after the layoff. But in the short term, we're going to see it continue to drop. There will be sympathetic drops from other things similar sized to ActiBliz, because when you fell one giant, people start to wonder how firm the footing of the other giants are.
Those have already happened. EA has had a slip this morning alongside ActiBliz. Those
ones usually recover faster, but they are still real. They still represent a real loss in confidence from the part of investors. And I think that they're going to
in general.
I think we're going to start to see an oscillation. We're going to see drop, recovery, and we're going to converge on a new normal, which is going to be lower than the old normal. I don't know if it's going to take 6 months or if it's going to take 3 years, but the market is going to contract and restabilize at another location.
Yes.
It's just a question of, depending on the size of investor gambles, how low will that be? Because if we see a big gamble on the part of investors, somebody makes a pitch which suggests that we can just get this Battle Royale thing right. If we dump $5 billion on making the perfect Battle Royale game, and, if anybody, you can tell without waiting for that scenario to play out how it'll end, right? It's going to fail.
Oh yeah, completely.
Because you can't develop like that. That's not how it works. It's not how the market works. It's not how players work. It's not how development works. You can't actually do it that way. It is how gambling on investment works, though, and that's about as far as a lot of people see. In some cases, usually you'd want to gather more information than that, but people who are big investors, often they don't really understand gaming very well, and it's not really in the interests of the publishers to let them, because they'll make mistakes. But
those are the
at any
publishers'
rate,
mistakes to make.
if we see a big investment gamble which goes bust, we'll probably stabilize at a lower level, because that's similar to producing a gajillion ET cartridges and having to put them all in a landfill. There was a big gamble was made that, oh, well, this industry is going gangbusters, we can shoot for the stars and we're going to make a... And it didn't happen. And it caused the games industry to crash.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just that event, but that event was symptomatic of the thinking of the times.
That was, it was the final straw, that one.
So the question is, how big is the final market contraction going to be? And how far along in that process are we? Because it could be that the big publishers' risk aversion will change direction, and they will decide, okay, we've lost a bunch of investors, we have less money than we thought we did, we need to go back to the drawing board and try and work out what triggered the boom to begin with, and try and manufacture a new bubble. But in order to do that, we're going to need to do that filthy thing called innovation.
Yeah.
If they do that, then the contraction will be relatively small, because they'll do a rapid change of direction. If they follow the usual practice, which is to push everything all the way to the edge, then the market will crash. Don't know which particular segments, but some part of the market will crash horribly. A lot of CEOs will lose their jobs. Far more trench programmers will lose their jobs than CEOs will, because they all go off to work at a, capital investment firm or something. But we're going for a contraction. It's just the fine detail. Is all that remains to be sorted out.
How big, and if now the thing is that the big developers, ActiBliz, EA, all those, they're too big to fail. They won't close their doors. But you may see mergers, depending on how.
Well, people said that about Acclaim. They said that about Westwood.
Yeah, and then EA happened.
Yeah, the only difference in the scenario is that there is no big dog on the prowl right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Ari has finally turned up. How was the traffic, Ari?
Yes? No?
I can't hear him.
You can't hear us. Okay.
Still can't hear him.
No,
okay.
I can.
There he is.
Yeah. I'm getting real tired of people needing to rely on me because they can't walk. And then telling me something will take an hour, and then it ended up taking 2 hours.
You should know that it's going to happen in advance, because it has never failed.
Or rather, 3 hours, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so you're here just in time for the end of the show.
Yeah, we're pretty much out of show at this point.
That's the way it goes, right? Anytime I give y'all a heads up, I'm always okay. Usually, bar 1 or 2 times I can show up. If I don't tell you and assume I'll be back in time, I get locked out doing stuff until the show's already done.
Joy.
So,
this is our life.
I'm putting this a tick mark of I got back in time for the show, in air quotes.
Yes. So, so we're
So
saying...
take us out, Ari.
All right, folks.
You can come up with the email topic of the week.
Okay. Email topic of the week. Let's see here. What were the things this week? Let's see. So, pick your favorite DOA movies.
That works.
You're going to need to do a doubly good analysis of the Devil May Cry demo by next week.
That's your homework,
don't worry, I had notes. I was ready to go.
I know you have played the absolute blazes out of that thing, so...
I played that thing 4 or 5 times, and I had notes upon notes. So, you can look forward to that next week when I get back. I'm going to murder some people. And maybe when they're dead, they won't send me out to go do stuff that'll take up all the showtime.
Oh, joy.
So, we will see y'all next week. Sayonara, bye-bye.